Hey everyone, what's up? I hope everyone's doing great. Alright, so here is part 9 of my story. Alright, let's get into it. So, in the last part, I started talking about my journey towards loving myself. I talked about how I needed to learn how to love myself again once I noticed that a lot of the relationships I was getting into were very toxic and draining, and I knew that I needed to take better care of myself, set more boundaries, and just get back to my sense of self if I wanted to be able to continue to be able to help others. So, yeah, I talked a bit about how my journey to learn to love myself is a huge part of my life story, and how it's really had a huge impact on me, and how a big part of it has been learning to accept myself for all that I am, for all of my feelings, thoughts, everything that I am, even when that isn't really easy to do. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the times when it really has not been at all easy for me to do that. So, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing some of my experiences with some pretty intense feelings of anxiety and depression. I know that this is something that I've talked on here a little bit about before, but in today's video, I really want to take a deeper dive into this part of my story and be more open about it in ways that I haven't really been as much before. I know that this is definitely a heavier topic, so as always, please make sure you take care of yourself. Don't feel the need to, expose yourself to anything that does not make you feel comfortable or triggers you in any way. That is, the last thing I want. So, just please, as always, take good care of yourself. Um, if you yourself are struggling with any of those kinds of feelings, please always, know that you can reach out to someone. Please do seek out help for yourself so that you can be your happiest, healthiest self. That is what I want for you. And if you want to talk about anything, yeah, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. So, um, I've never really been that much of an anxious person for a lot of my life, anxious or depressed. Um, for most of my life, up until my teenage years, I was, always a very happy kid. So, never really prone to much anxiety or depression other than, like, I guess the normal stuff, even though, what is the normal stuff, but you know what I'm saying. But, anyway, yeah, I first started to feel, feelings of anxiety and depression around the middle of high school, which is when I first started feeling isolated and alienated from my peers and lonely. That, of course, naturally brought on feelings of sadness and sometimes depression, oftentimes anxiety. I've already, talked a lot about that though. So today, really, what I'm talking more about is when it became something that was more of a chronic thing for me. And this happened around the later parts of high school and earlier parts of college. This was when I already had spent, a few years or a couple years, on, my quest to befriend as many people as possible and to be there for as many people as possible, and had experienced, emotional abuse in some of my relationships from that. Um, it's a big thing that kind of broke me down and made me realize that I needed to start putting more emphasis on myself and loving myself more. So I did, as I talked about, I did start that journey, but, you can't just heal yourself overnight. Um, so, again, this was like the first couple years of college now. Um, And, a lot was going on in my life. I was figuring out, this brand new school. I was at this brand new school with all new people, trying to make friends, trying to get my Be the Change Club going there, trying to get involved in a million things. In my sophomore year, as many of you know, I started dorming away from home. I started living there when I got hired as an RA. Oh no, that's awesome, but it was a lot, definitely. And combined with me still trying to figure out how to heal myself, I was kind of living a very, fast-paced life because, that's what I wanted. Um, but there were still some things that I hadn't really addressed. Past hurts and, my feelings of, being hurt inside from people who weren't treating me right. And I had, made the conscious decision to start loving myself and start putting into place boundaries, but that's not just going to make everything all better right away. It's not just going to heal everything. Um, so I realized that I was still, dealing with the residual effects of being hurt and not taken care of it for a very long time. And that manifested itself largely as anxiety and depression. Now, I do want to make it clear, I've never been diagnosed with any specific disorders or anything like that. So we're just talking about feelings of anxiety and depression in a very generalist sense, not at all, in a diagnosis or mental disorder type sense. I will share that I never really did even seek out professional help around this for a few different reasons that I don't really want to get into here. Um, but yeah. Anyway, it was really really hard for me a lot of the time, because I realized that these feelings could come on me at any time. They were becoming more chronic. They were getting in the way more and more of what I wanted to do, of just me being, my general happy, positive self. The anxiety often manifested itself as intrusive thoughts and racing thoughts, where my mind just seemed to keep going and going and going, and it would just keep jumping from one thought to another, and it made it really hard for me to concentrate, and it was really distracting. A lot of the times, the thoughts were not pleasant ones, and that was a huge pain for me to deal with. Um, and I had more of a big thing, or I guess the biggest thing with the anxiety was that it was social anxiety, which of course, a lot of us, most of us even can probably relate to. But I'd never really had that much in my life, but now I was noticing more and more. I mean, yes, I was in this new environment, taking on all this new stuff, so that's bound to trigger it a little bit. But I was realizing that it wasn't like me. I would be in like social gatherings or social settings, and more I was realizing that like it was really becoming like distressing to me. Like I was constantly worried about what other people were thinking of me. I was constantly feeling like I was being judged, like down to like the smallest little thing I would say. I would like freak out inside over like how that came off to other people, if, I was turning them off, if, it would lead them to like want to cut me out, stuff like that. And yeah, it would be really difficult. I tried to do different like breathing exercises and grounding exercises that helped a little bit, but it was just very, very hard. Um, as for the depression part of it, yeah, I mean, I never really had like, any depressive episodes that lasted like days or weeks, but, there were some times when I was just so exhausted and emotionally drained of energy, not from anything, specific, but just from a feeling of, just burnout that I've just been carrying a lot of baggage with me around for a long time, which I have had been. And I would just sometimes need to just collapse in my room and just lie down and either just cry or sleep for like a lot of hours. And yeah, it was just very, very hard. Um, Sometimes I would just collapse and just like I would be in physically and psychologically wrapped in like so much psychological pain that I felt was like emanating deep from inside me, from a deep broken part inside me. And it was just I mean, I still get that sometimes. That's something I'm currently working through, but I'm just thinking back during the period of my life when it was, at its peak and just a lot of pain. And it was just really, really hard. Especially, when the anxiety and the depression would kind of play off each other. One is like, hyper alert, hyper anxious. The other is like feels no sense of energy, completely drained. And those thoughts would, have like conversations in my mind. And it was just like kind of tearing me apart. It was making me feel terrible about myself a lot of the time. I tried to do my best to just hide it and just, be my outgoing self. Um, but yeah, it was just really, really hard. Um, yeah, I am doing better now. Um, I'm thankful to say. It's been a while since it was, it's really been that bad, at least in that sense. I have a bunch of other things to deal with now, also, but it's that part really isn't quite as bad, which is good. I've been working a lot on myself in that regard over the past few years, and I've definitely made progress. Does not mean I'm totally healed by any sense. I still have a ways to go. I'm still actively working on it. It's definitely a long journey. It's a long process, but it is always encouraging when you can see healing. That's what I'm going to begin to talk about in the next part. My journey to heal from that and to really just, find my place in the world again, because that's what I felt like I was losing. Um, my sense of my place, in the world. Um, yeah, I know a lot of you, again, can relate to these kinds of feelings. Again, please, like, do something to help yourself. Like, whatever you're going through, whether you think it's minor, whether it's major, please do something to help yourself because you deserve to be healthy and happy in every way. Um, Reach out to someone. Just, don't keep it all inside. That's like the biggest thing I've learned. Just don't keep it all inside. Like, just talk to anyone. There is someone out there who cares about you. Even if you like need to call a hotline, just go on a, random app or online forum to find, support, just do it. Put yourself out there. Don't suffer in silence and don't, feel like you're all alone. Well, I mean, it's hard not to feel like that sometimes, but don't just like think that you're all alone and not reach out because there are a lot of people out there who want to help you. And yeah, if you want to reach out and share your story with me or just talk, I'm here. I'm here. You're not alone. Because that's the most painful thing, I think, is to feel alone. And I just want to, if I can take that away from someone, I just want to take away that pain of feeling alone. Okay. So anyway, yeah, that's part of my journey, dealing with these feelings. So I, explored that here. I'm gonna wrap this up now. But, yeah, again, just reach out for help if you need it. Remember that you're not alone. And in the next part, we're going to start to talk about how I realized that I wasn't alone, how I work towards healing and finding my place in the world. All right. Thank you all so much for watching this. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next part. I love you all so much, sending you all love and strength. Always here for you. See you all really soon. Bye.